that we need to accomplish this thing by the 6th. Well, what does this thing look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? How do I know when it's successfully completed? Because only when I know that can I communicate that to other people. And in business, that goes to the idea of metrics, or measuring what it is that we're trying to get. Only when we have clarity do we know even what to measure. And what we can measure, we can improve.
As you were talking, I had one of those light bulb moments.
I could see that happening.
You know what? I heard my husband's voice in my head saying, when you tell me something, tell me what you really want. I can't read your mind.
And you know, there's this romantic notion that we want our husbands and wives and partners and to be able to read our minds. But the greatest thing we could do for them is to have clarity. And then if they want to understand, and I mean, that's a kind of a beautiful romantic thing your husband said. It might not have seemed like it at the time.
I understand where he's coming from, because it has helped our relationship. You're right, you can't read my mind, so this, once again, bring my points, be as clear as I can with him as well as in business. You sometimes don't, and maybe I'll ask this, and I will, because I grew up with brothers, and are women's minds a little different than men? And as a woman, I say, or is that...
No, I think that's a perfectly valid point. If you read John Gray, who's one of my co-authors, he's the, you know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, it's totally different worlds. You'll have that answer. There are neuroscientists that give us slightly conflicting views on this. In other words, we're all human beings, and we do have brains that process information in some ways precisely the same way. But in other ways, we do not. There are differences in how we process information. And then there are also enculturated differences. Like, everybody thinks that so much of who we are and how we look is genetic. And anybody that knows my mom and dad and looks at me will say, well, there's a healthy genetic component there. But there's also increasing work being done in the area of epigenetics that say, really, genetics may only be responsible for as little as 10%, and then the rest of the gene may be, you know, that's controlling 90% of what's going on and what you look like and how you're behaving and how your muscles work and things like that. Is that actually the result of the genetic relationship to the external world? So science is telling us that we do develop differently, and we can develop different ways of processing information. And obviously, men and women are run across a spectrum of how they do that. The key thing is to recognize that nobody does it the same way. When I say dog to you, you get a picture of a dog, because again, I saw you make that picture. And that picture's right here. So you obviously, my guess is you even have a dog.
Yeah, we had one.
Okay. And so that dog, you think of that dog. Now, I got a picture of a dog in my mind too, but did we have the same picture?
Probably not.
Probably not. Even if you ask your husband, and even if he shared that dog with you, he might have had a picture of a prior dog. He might have had a picture of that dog behaving differently. We all create, through this electrochemical reaction in our brain, different internal images based on the sound we hear. So everybody does it differently. So what we have to work toward is a little bit more of a shared reality of what's going on in there. And when you get that, when you make that fun rather than a chore, man, the whole world changes for the better. So that's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, but that's okay. It goes back to being, I guess, open and honest and as clear as we could be, and just try and get your point across. Because
in a way that will be engaging. That's one of the other things that we know great communicators do, is they try to find out what's interesting and engaging to the other person. So that they can make their argument, if you will, although I don't like to think of it that way, in a way that's appealing to the other person. Let me give you, I sometimes do a tickler for television and radio shows where they'll say, Dave Freese is going to be on, and he's going to tell us the 6 words that can radically change our relationship with a child in our lives. So here's the story and the 6 words, and here's how it relates to what we're saying. Have you ever had, you have children?
Yes.
How many do you have?
2.
Have you ever had one where you were trying to get them to do something that would be good for them, but they said, no, I can't do that?
Yes.
And when they said that, what did you say? When they said, Mom, I can't do it, you said?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. That's what we all say. Yes, you can. Well, a couple things about that. You're arguing. They said, you said do it. They said, I can't. You said, yes, you can. So you're arguing. You may not think of it that way. You think you're being supportive.
Nice and helpful. That's better for you. Yeah.
Better for you. And this thing's going to help you in the long run. Listen to this twist, that if we take all these things we've been talking about, instead of saying, I used to say to my kids, yes, you can. And by the way, I started to teach all of these things to 5th grade classes for a while, and I was teaching them, you know, more or less how to manipulate their parents, which they loved. And I said, when you say you can't do something and your parents say yes you can, what do you think? or when you say, I can't do it, what do? And everybody went, yes, you can. And they made this kind of funny face and the same gesture. This is fifth graders all over the world. So we know we do this. So what can we learn from that? Well, we can and we do learn that we're arguing with them. So if instead I said, I want you to do this, and they said, no, I can't, I might say, I know you think you can't yet. Or I know you feel like you can't yet. Now notice the difference.
Okay.
They're going to agree with that because I've agreed with them. I know you feel like you can't, but it's less permanent. They say I can't, I say you feel like you can't.
Okay.
That's changeable. And they go, yeah, Dad's listening to me. He said I feel like I can't. And then I add the word yet. That's a presupposition. That supposes that they will be able to.
And does it then in their head give that little thing
Sure,
of,
because
well,
that's a
is it left
possibility.
there?
Exactly. It's left there, and they start thinking about that. Now, I do this. I say, I know you feel like you can't yet. And here's the 6 words that could change your life.